right now at the lowest they've been since 1800. And in 1800, we were in the middle of a period called the Dalton minimum, which relates to the number of low sunspots. And from 1790 to 1820, the world was very cold. And we're heading into that right now. And we're going to reach a minimum of global temperature probably by around the year 2030. Now, whether it'll get colder than that and go to as cold as it was in 1680 when we had the Maunder minimum, that's still open to debate. And so that is what's going on here. Is the sunspot numbers are indicating that the magnetic field of the sun is affecting the cloud cover on the Earth, and so that's where we're going with all this, because the tragedy is that because of what Morris Strong did and setting this up through the bureaucrats in the weather offices like NOAA, global warming, when they should be preparing for cooling. And I'll tell you, the adaptation to cooling is a hell of a lot harder than it is to warming. No, I think we hit the maximum 1998. The world's Yeah, the world's been cooling down since then. Let me give you an example of why I'm saying that. There's a terrible piece of science created called the hockey stick, which shows that there right no virtually no temperature change for 1,000 years. Then suddenly in the 20th century, yeah, okay, here's the problem. I don't find anything funny about Al Gore at all. I mean, what he's doing to the world, lying and fooling the world, is actually criminal. Okay, and the guy that created the hockey stick, when I gave a presentation in Winnipeg and showed the public how he created it, and afterwards I was asked by the interviewer, well, what's the problem? And I said, he's refusing to tell the world how he created the hockey stick. In other words, he won't allow science to reproduce his results, which is the most basic test in science. And yet the world has been fooled by this hockey stick. And so when I was interviewed afterwards, I flippantly said, well, he's at Penn State, but maybe he should be at State Penn. He brought a lawsuit against me. It's one of the 3 lawsuits by the IPCC members that were brought against me. And I'm in the courts right now fighting with the guy that created the hockey stick. And it's cost me $600,000 in legal bills so far. And that's why, and of course, you see the blade of the hockey stick. First of all, what they did there was they used tree rings for 1,000 years of record. Tree rings are not about temperature. Tree rings are about precipitation. Vegetation responds to precipitation far more than it does temperature. The blade of the hockey stick was an instrumental temperature record. You cannot scientifically put one data set and attach from one source of information and graft it onto data from another source of information. That is scientifically wrong. So the construction of the graph itself was wrong. Now, the blade of the hockey stick showed the temperature going up by 0.6 degrees Celsius in 120 years. And they claim that was so rapid that exceeded any known temperature increase, which was false. But what they didn't tell you, although they did put it in their published paper, that it was 0.6 degree increase plus or minus zero point 0.2. In other words, the error on their data was plus or minus 33%. You wouldn't even use that for a political poll. And yet that's what they did. And just to finish my point here, in the last 3 years, the global temperature has gone down more than 0.6 degrees Celsius in the last 3 years. And so in 3 years, it's declined more than it went up in 120 years, which they claim is clear evidence of human interference.